Good evening and welcome to the Tibet Center here at 502 North Ridgewood Road, South Orange, New Jersey. We will begin by reciting a prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddha's teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living there, together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi, which examines the Dharma called profound illumination. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, "How should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge?" And Avalokiteshvara answered, "Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form, form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tathagata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisoha. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that Samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, Good, O son of noble family, profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering and the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praise the words of the Blessed One. Now we generate bodhicitta. With a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain
to dispel the miseries of the world.
With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With a wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Okay, that's the one rosary of Om Mani Padme Hum, thinking of developing the wish to remove the suffering of all others. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. So this last wish to remove the suffering of all others, it's really the essence of an ethical or a spiritual way of leading one's life, of being, of thinking. I don't know that there's much more to add to that to really make one's life more meaningful. That should really, well, what more could be added to that to make one's life more meaningful?
In terms of motivation, nothing really. But to add to that is to study to back it up, to make it happen.
Study, practice, realize.
Becoming that idea. So, yeah.
But the deeper one can make that feeling, the more one fulfills the deepest commitment to and devotion to and involvement with others, thereby making one's whole being in the service of others, making one's whole being spiritual. I think that it encompasses everything. I think that to really develop that wish, simply make that simple thought, may I develop the ability to remove the suffering of others. May I develop the ability to remove the suffering of others. To have that be the theme of one's life, I think, is really takes over all spiritual responsibility. I think it, I don't know, I'm making this statement.
Especially with the word all. You're working for every creature with consciousness.
So as you said, then once, along with that wish, will naturally come the determination to develop the ability, develop the techniques, develop the means, the skillful means to actually do so, and hopefully develop the wisdom to know how best to do so. But that wish is like the essential ingredient. And I say this because we say these prayers at the beginning of our classes, and the first one written by the former Rinpoche, praying that the Rinpoche, being the senior tutor of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, praying that the spreading of the Buddhist doctrine flourish throughout the West. And this was written back at the beginning when the Tibetans first came into exile, and he was asked to compose this, and so wrote this prayer that this knowledge make its way to the West and spread within the West. And then we read the Heart Sutra. And the Heart Sutra, this whole notion that all phenomena are empty. And when we talk about, when it goes through, therefore, since there is emptiness, there's no form, there's no feeling, there are no discriminating awarenesses, and no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting. Now, of course, the Buddha is not saying that there is no, that none of these phenomena exist, but by introducing this idea that these phenomena do not exist in and of themselves, that these phenomena do not exist in any kind of independent fashion, that thought itself breaks down the solidity, the essential quality of the phenomena that we cling to, that we grasp for, and this. Well, I say all this because in what we're discussing today, the first thing that His Holiness talks about in this book, in where we've gotten to, is the fact that material things and material knowledge, but material things do not provide us with happiness. They don't satisfy our pursuit of happiness. And what is being said in the Heart Sutra is that is due to the fact that material things do not possess that intrinsic quality that we grasp for, and that we ourselves do not possess this quality of independent or inherent quality that can be satisfied. So the reading of this as we begin our classes is really reminding us of this most essential quality in Buddhism, that that when we really search for the essential quality in anything and in ourselves, we won't find it. And that by understanding that, by deepening our understanding of that, we become free of that clinging to phenomena or to our sense of self. So that's the Heart Sutra. And then we come to this extraordinary generation of bodhicitta, where we are not simply seeking happiness for ourselves, but we are assuming a responsibility to work towards providing others with happiness, inspired by the last verse, as long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So these three prayers are really fundamental in assuming a spiritual take on life, developing that feeling of responsibility, which is sort of the foundation of a spiritual, or let's say a responsible way of life. Okay, so in this book we reached, according to my notes, page 10, the very top of page 10. So we can go back to the end of page 9. Clearly, a major reason for modern society's devotion to material progress is the very success of science and technology. Now, the wonderful thing about these forms of human endeavor is that they bring immediate satisfaction. They're unlike prayer, the result of which are prayers, the result of which are, for the most part, invisible, if indeed prayer works at all. So this is something that we discussed the last time. And something to really think about, because it's important to understand how prayer could be beneficial, and to ensure that we approach prayer in satisfying the criteria necessary to make prayer effective. So prayer works, but we have to really understand how it works. Well, let's take a moment to how does prayer work? How does my saying a prayer for your sick grandmother work?
Well, it may not cure my grandmother, but it's your good intention that works. You're doing something that's good, and that has to have a good result.
But I'm praying for your grandmother.
Which is very nice, thank you. But my grandmother has her own karma,
Yeah.
so she is, well, she was. You didn't pray sooner, she's passed on. But
See?
she has her own karma that she created. And so when she gets an illness, it's something that her karma gave to her. So your prayer works at a minimum because your intention is good. You want to help someone. So you're creating good karma for yourself. That we know. Now whether it can help my grandmother, I don't know that we can know that.
She provoked it by her illness, so maybe she gets a piece of the action. wasn't intended, maybe. It's overlit. Production here.
I've been reading some quantum physics for lay people, not being a physicist myself. And one of the things that they talk about is the effect of fields, right? So particles seem to be connected at this quantum level. They seem to be connected, where if a field changes in one particle, it'll change the field of another. So people that have been studying this got to studying like ESP and, you know, sort of remote, being able to affect things sort of remotely, machines and people and stuff like that. Because that seems to happen physically in the universe. Like this thing changes over here, it'll affect and change that thing over there, even if they are separated by a big distance or seem to be unrelated. So that got me thinking about what you're saying. I think that prayer seems to be kind of affecting the field, and the field does have an influence, even at great distances, or, you know, I might know Tammy's gonna text me before she texts me. It might pop into my head and then I get the text, something like that, right? So I do feel like there is a physical effect. I think there's a lot of, right, entangle, yes, right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's probability though, not exactly, but most likely, they always say. It's what I get from it.
Yes.
That's it.
Well, the people that studied,
yeah, and it works.
people that studied there's a random machine, right, operating in
Right.
another room, and it's like, can you wish that the machine were to create more ones than zeros, right? And they found that yes, you can. You can affect it by your intention to have the machine get more ones than zeros, and through many studies. So anyway, that when you were talking about prayer, I kind of think of it as you're affecting the field, and can you be certain that that's going to have the effect you intend, or be enough to sort of heal somebody who's sick, or whatever? I mean, I think that part you don't know. There's a lot else going on maybe, but you can still affect the field.
So, can you explain the use of the word field here? Scope of.
So there's a concept, this is where I'm going to struggle, I'm sorry, because I'm not like, but there's a concept that in quantum physics they call it the 0-point field. And it is essentially the background radiation, right? Background radiation. And these quantum particles seem to appear and disappear from the field and back into the field. So according to quantum physics, the field contains all the information because the particles appear from it and then disappear back into it. So in that sense, I think that the field is connecting all of these different elements of reality. They're connected by this medium that they call the field, the 0-point field.
So within that concept, is there any idea that one's ability to affect the field could be enhanced or diminished by some ingredient?
Yes, definitely.
And what would that be?
I'm going to try to put it into, I'm trying to recall it. I think that it's, I'm not going to maybe describe it right, but it's almost like one's openness to receiving or feeling or being in contact with the field, basically. So some people seem to be more able to contact it and some less. And the ones more can have more of an effect. You know, that you might call them clairvoyant, or they might have, there might be different terms for it, for people that have sort of greater access to this, to the field, but yeah, I think it's kind of determined by their sort of being in touch with it.
So we can sort of relate that in terms of prayer to the depth of our wish, because that wish itself is enabling us to engage in the field of sentient beings more.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Would that be?
Yeah, I think that sounds right to me, yeah.
So, in that sense, as we engage in that field of all sentient beings, our positive or our compassionate attitude towards them spreads more, or is more potent, or more wide. Yeah? I like that.
Namda, the Geshe Namda's one of his favorite themes. There's a Geshe, he's Dutch, but he became a Tibetan Buddhist. And he has a dialogue with a lot of quantum physicists, especially Rovelli, Carlo Rovelli. So he examines physics, quantum physics, and him and Alan Moss from the Buddhist point of view.
Okay.
There's a lot out there about this. Of course, I don't understand it. I could just tell you that it's there. But that's
But the more you understand it, the more you'll be able to be in touch with it.
yes.
And
Yeah. If you can jump into the Dharmakaya at will, maybe you could be in touch with everything. Who could do that?
so, the whole idea is the doubt in things being able to bring us happiness, and we are impressed by results. What could be more normal? Unfortunately, this devotion encourages us to suppose that the keys to happiness are material well-being on the one hand, and power conferred by knowledge on the other. So, and while it is obvious to anyone who gives his mature thought that the former, the material well-being, cannot bring us happiness by itself, it is perhaps less apparent that the latter, that this power that is derived from knowledge, conferred by knowledge, also cannot bring about happiness. But the fact is, knowledge alone cannot provide happiness that springs from inner development, that is, not reliant on external factors. Indeed, though our very detailed and specific knowledge of external phenomena is an immense achievement, the urge to reduce, to narrow down in pursuit of it, far from bringing us happiness, can actually be dangerous. Well, gosh, how can we apply that to just what you told us? But it can be dangerous, but of course it can cause us to lose touch with the wider reality of human experience, and in particular our dependence on others. So he's suggesting that the danger comes from our becoming cold to others by relying too much on the belief in knowledge and outer physical phenomena for our satisfaction and happiness. Yes? Does that
It's a
sound
narrow
right?
definition of knowledge. Knowledge could be the knowledge that all beings are suffering, which would bring you more out there. But the rest of it, what kind of knowledge we're talking
but
about?
Here, well, he is the
We're talking about
detailed
material
and
knowledge.
specific knowledge of
Yeah.
external phenomena.
Yeah.
So, what what is interesting is that the knowledge that he's pointing at, and those things that he's suggesting do not bring us happiness, are external phenomena and knowledge of the external world. So I was using my phone for something on WhatsApp, and there was this thing that said Meta AI, and so I decided, and it was asking me if I had a question, and this is not Chat GPT.
Not ChatGPT.
This is
something
just
else,
on, yeah. And so I asked a question. Here, I'll let you listen to the question.
How much does our happiness depend on outer phenomena, and how much and what other things influence our happiness?
And the response was, research suggests that outer phenomena, such as life circumstances and external events, account for about 10 to 20% of our happiness. That's amazing. This includes things like relationships, wealth, health, job satisfaction, and living situation. They only account for 20%, 10 to 20. However, a significant portion of our happiness is influenced by internal factors such as mindset, our attitude, perspective, and thoughts, gratitude, focusing on the good things in life, self-awareness, understanding ourselves, our values, and our emotions, personal growth, learning, developing developing new skills and achieving goals, resilience, coping with challenges and setbacks. Additionally, genetics also play a role in our happiness, with some people being naturally more inclined to positivity.
That I don't like. It's eugenics.
The 50-40-10 rule is a popular concept. 50% of happiness comes from genetics, 40 from intentional activities, things we choose to do, and 10 from external circumstances. This suggests that while outer phenomena can impact our happiness, we have more control over our happiness than we might think. Well, I think that's rather interesting. That this
money,
little
but
thing.
A little emphasis on genetics, that's a wild one. But anyway,
Well, I think that
we don't want to get off the
genetics
the track here.
might be the way of referring to inner development. How can one that sort of store of inner, where we are in our inner evolution, that can't be explained physically.
Yeah.
Well, something like bipolar disorder is genetic.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of mental health issues are just genetic.
Yes.
It's a medical issue. So it's going to be a lot harder for you to be happy if you have a predisposition to depression.
Yes.
Have you found this in your practice, Grace?
Most of my patients couldn't
Oh,
talk.
they were little kids, that's what I forgot.
But I think that's true. I mean,
You got 'em really
my
young.
reading and everything.
Before
it's
that.
true.
So I took that more. I left the sort of genetic.
I have to digest that, there's a lot in there, but the way they glibly ran down all this. And of course, it nicely sits 50% for you.
No, but basically, it's telling us that
Yeah,
far more is within our inner grasp.
maybe he or she, or it means genetics in a broader sense,
Yeah.
not race, for instance.
No.
Not,
That's, I mean, I don't
For
know.
instance, our genetics are different from a horse. Of course, we can think we don't have a horse's mind. Maybe we do, but you know, their consciousness is limited by the body they're in. His Holiness would say this a lot. So maybe that's what they mean by genetics. I took it on the political plateau.
But leaving
It's
aside the concept, the sort of controversial aspect
Yes.
of the use of genetics, sorry, you were
Eugenics, they call
eugenics. The idea that most of our happiness comes from within ourselves rather than outside,
it. Yes.
and to consider that happiness is something that comes from outer phenomena is wrong. I think that we can, I mean, I keep hoping that a new camera and a better lens is going to
Oh, that's
bring me.
of course, that's the omniscient ones have spoken. Now, for instance, you can prove that you're in a very tense and upset mood, things that normally make you happy, like a nice plate of pasta, whatever you like, you don't enjoy it. You can't. You're, you know, nervous and all that. They don't work, you know. And if you're really ill, the thought of food makes you ill. So there's nothing inherent out there, and it's you're in a situation receiving all this that makes the difference. I guess. I don't know. No? Your cookies, for instance, maybe they taste better even if you're in a bad mood.
So, well, I mean,
I'm joking.
this. Okay. So, I lose my. But the fact is, knowledge alone cannot provide happiness that springs from inner development, that is not reliant on external factors. Indeed, though our very detailed and specific knowledge of external phenomena is an immense achievement, the urge to reduce, to narrow down in pursuit of it, far from bringing us happiness, can actually be dangerous. Dangerous. And it can cause us to lose touch with the wider reality of human experience, and in particular our dependence on others. So this suggests that true happiness comes from developing that human experience, and in particular our, I would say, interdependence with others. Okay, so I must admit that as I walk around this neighborhood, and I speak to you because we share the neighborhood, you're one of the few people I ever see. and there is also the mayor, what's he called? Paul?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
And
The guy at the bottom of that
blockhead.
the Belgian fellow.
Belgium.
But there, it's not it's not an area where you there's no community that's sort of out there. Even as I walked to vote yesterday, I passed one woman on the way
Yeah,
down
it's not
there,
like
and
story
she
of-
said, "Be sure to vote."
Hey,
And I wanted to make sure that I knew where I was going. So I said, "Well, is it at the school here?" And she had her little things on, and she wasn't hearing me. She had made her statement to me, and that was it. I voted.
down at the school here, that's where you had to go in.
But there is no, I mean, this interdependence of human beings that, you know, is part of, let's say, life in India, it's not all like this. It's sort of like this here.
There's no cafe society, for instance, where you can hang out and yell back and forth. And even Starbucks, everybody's glued to their little device, you know. It's strange. You want to get a taste of humanity, you can't.
There's Dunkin' Donuts.
That's
There's
your-
far more life at Dunkin'.
At Dunkin' Donuts, really?
So, and there's your place.
Your place, yes.
Do you know his place?
I know, I was there
That's,
yesterday. He makes a very good espresso, by the way, the double Colombo espresso.
what is it called?
The Abel Baker.
Oh, I love it.
This is Mr. Abel here.
Abel, his wife is Baker. They're
Yeah, we
dependent.
go there all the time, yeah.
So, I mean, and the fact that we say that with enthusiasm
Yeah, we like the
shows
cake.
that there is a human interaction.
Your new place, if you open it, you know, will it have seating or just, yeah, lots of good.
Lots of seating.
Here in
Yeah.
South Orange?
Yeah,
Where?
Fourth and Valley.
Valley and Forth,
Where's
that's
that?
on the way to Maplewood, where Darren used to live, that building, but right in the beginning of town. So it's within walking distance of the train. So you
Okay.
can run in, grab something, run out, and enjoy it on the train.
It's a long walk from here, but. Okay. So, a little plug for our friend here.
Yeah, yes, again, you have an uncanny knack of making the flavor of the apple hit even the crumbs. I don't know how you do that. Maybe quantum entanglement.
Mhm.
That's what it is.
Got it.
Thank you.
We need also to recognize what happens when we rely too much on the external achievements of science. For example, as the influence of religion declines, there is mounting confusion with respect to the problem of how best we are to conduct ourselves in life. In the past, religion and ethics were closely intertwined. Now, many people believe that science has disproven religion, making the further assumption that because there appears to be no final evidence for any spiritual authority, morality itself must be a matter of individual preference. Well, what do you
Ouch.
think of that?
I know what Putin thinks of that.
So, the idea that morality itself must be a matter of individual preference is, I mean, I don't know that that is what people, I think that basically people have, that there is a tendency as we seek independence from one another, as we seek to make ourselves, what is the word, to protect ourselves from anything that might influence us from the outside, developing security or a belief that we can be secure, all of that sort of diminishes our feeling that we have a need for moral food, moral sustenance, moral support.
Buddhism reinforces that with cause and effect, you know. What's happening to you, anything that's negative, you had caused by doing negative acts. So once you get that in your mind and believe in it, morality becomes more
No, but
practical.
we're talking about modern
Modern
talking about what's
people-
here.
okay.
In today's society,
Right.
due to the fact that we have this belief in science and this,
Right.
we are diminishing our belief in the notion that morality is an objective truth, and we are considering that we have some kind of control over morality. Morality must
A
be a matter
personal
of
preference.
individual preference.
Yeah.
And whereas in the past, scientists and philosophers felt a pressing need to find solid foundations on which to establish immutable laws and absolute truths, nowadays this kind of research is held to be futile. I don't know. I know that in these conversations between the Buddhists and the scientists, the mind and life
Right.
Conversations, they have these, the French philosopher of science,
Big Bull.
yeah, there is this, and I remember a fascinating interchange between a man he's called Rolf Singer,
And
And I-
his daughter, yeah.
and he's from the Max Planck Institute, and someone was suggesting that if I have a sudden seizure and as a result of that I punch someone, is that a morally wrong thing to do? And am I responsible for having punched the person? If I have a dream or in my sleep I punch someone, am I responsible for having done that? And she was going farther and farther, suggesting that within the mental, the workings of the brain, we are never independently, or we can never act in a way that is independent of the chemicals that work on the brain, and so that there is no limit to, there's no point where we go from a moral a behavior that is not influenced by the physical nature of the brain to something where we would be responsible. And Ralph Singer stopped her and said, we are always responsible for our actions.
Yeah.
And it was a very interesting moment, because he is the person who has really explored neuroplasticity and believes fundamentally in the fact that all conscious aspects of ourselves are physical rather than this understanding of consciousness being non-physical. Yet he was saying we are responsible.
We are responsible. We'll love to hear that.
So
How he gets to that point.
So the whole idea of our being responsible, the morality being something that is something we can invent for ourselves, or whether there is an outer structure of morality, there is an outer system. If you believe in cause and effect, in the laws of karma, then karma itself is an infrastructure that where, of course, how you behave, you are responsible. You can behave any way you want to, but it has repercussions that are built in, that are a natural part of the mechanics of karma. So that morality, the way you morally behave, may be an individual preference or an individual decision, but the ramifications of how you behave are within the structure of the laws of karma.
And that's how he's pinning responsibility, I guess.
Sorry?
That's how he pins responsibility. You are always responsible. Maybe that's what
You mean
means
Professor
also.
Singer. I don't know that Singer is a believer in karma in the sense that we are. I don't think so. But I don't know. So I don't know how he pins responsibility. He is just, I think he was warning us not to relinquish that responsibility for our behavior. And whereas in the past scientists and philosophers felt a pressing need to find solid foundations on which to establish immutable laws and absolute truths, nowadays this kind of research is held to be futile. As a result, we see a complete reversal heading towards the opposite extreme, where ultimately nothing exists any longer, where reality itself is called into question. This can only lead to chaos. Well, this is quite a warning. Does anyone have anything to share on this point? In saying this, I do not mean to criticize scientific endeavor. I have learned a great deal from my encounters with the scientists, and I see no obstacle to engaging in dialogue with them, even when their perspective is one of radical materialism. Indeed, for as long as I can remember, I have been fascinated by insights of science. As a boy, there was a time when I was rather more interested in learning about the mechanics of an old film projector I found in the storeroom of the summer residence of the Dalai Lama than my religious and scholastic studies. My concern is rather that we are apt to overlook the limitations of science. Well,
That's the conclusion. That's a good one.
in replacing religion as the final source of knowledge in popular estimation, science begins to look a bit like another religion itself. With this comes a similar danger on the part of some of its adherents of blind faith in its principles and correspondingly to intolerance of alternative views. That this supplanting of religion has taken place is not surprising. However, given science's extraordinary achievements, I have to follow this way of writing. That this supplanting of religion has taken place is not surprising, however, given science's extraordinary achievements. Who could fail to be impressed at our ability to land people on the moon? Yet the fact remains that if, for example, we were to go to a nuclear physicist and say, I am facing a moral dilemma, what should I do? He or she could only shake their head and suggest we look elsewhere for an answer. Well, generally speaking, a scientist is in no better position than a lawyer in this respect. For while both science and law can help us forecast the likely consequence of our actions, neither can tell us how we ought to act in a moral sense. Moreover, we need to recognize the limits of scientific inquiry itself. For example, though we have been aware of human consciousness for millennia, and though it has been the subject of investigation throughout history, despite scientists' best efforts, they still do not understand what it actually is, nor why it exists, how it functions, nor what is its essential nature. Neither can science tell us the substantial cause of consciousness, nor what its effects are. Of course, consciousness belongs to that category of phenomena without form, substance, or color. It is not susceptible to investigation by external means, but this does not mean such things do not exist, merely that science cannot find them. Well, this is, of course, yes. Um, so, those are scientific noises, yes. The whole notion that consciousness is not physical is very important in our belief system. And it's something that there's been this dialogue between scientists and the Buddhists, and the Buddhists wouldn't negate the importance of the brain in helping with the mechanics of, let's say, physically acting upon consciousness, the effects of consciousness, but consciousness is considered not to be physical. So the brain is a mechanism. It's the, let's say, the conduit between consciousness, or it is the physical machine that enables our thoughts to work, to act materially or physically. So there is this attempt to find a situation where you can see consciousness or identify consciousness as being separate from the physical. And the place that His Holiness has suggested to scientists to look is at the point where, when we die, when the physical aspect of consciousness, that is to say, the brain and the brain ceases to exist, when we are, let's say, brain dead, when we have died physically, there might be an element of consciousness that has not ceased. And the point at the place where that might be seen or found or revealed is when a meditator who's trained himself or herself in the stages of death, and who can then hold on to that point where he or she is no longer inhibited by the physicality of a belief or a sense of self. The body is dead, and who has trained himself or herself to actually make use of that non-physical aspect of self at the point of death. So now there are these scientists who are trying to find some quality of life that might exist once the person has died. And so these scientists have come down to the monasteries where they are told that there might be among the monks some who actually have the ability, have trained in their lives to make use of death, and have the ability to hold on to a moment or a time when the body is dead, and actually meditate using only their mental existence. And I was at one of these Mind and Life conversations, and someone sitting right behind me was one of the assistants to one of the doctors engaging in this, and not one of the scientists. And the assistant said to me, do you think that we could actually go to the monastery and ask some of the monks who are engaged in this kind of meditation in their lives to sort of sign up to be submitted to this kind of experimentation at the end of their lives? And I said, anyone who is truly able to engage in this kind of meditation at the end of their lives would desperately try to avoid having anyone doing experiments on
Right.
them and bothering that death process. They would have spent their whole life preparing to make use of this delicate moment. And the last thing they would want is for that to be disturbed in any way. I said, no one will put their hand up and say, yeah, you can experiment on me. I've actually arrived at that point where I might be able to make use of this at the point of death. Feel free to experiment. No. But what people have permitted themselves to do is leave the decision to His Holiness. Anyone whom His Holiness might say could be experimented upon at the point of their death would permit that to happen. But it's not something that anyone would sign up for. And so there was one of the ex-Gandintipas, ex-heads of the Gelu order, died down in Mungod in South India, very close to where I was living. And there was it wasn't that there was a quality of life, it was that the body did not decompose. There was no, there seemed to be some quality that remained. And at first, so the experimenters, the scientists, were allowed to put electrodes on the brain, desperately trying to find something that would indicate some quality of life, though the person was definitely
Not
dead.
breathing anymore.
Not breathing anymore. And after a week, this became sort of known in the community, and in the Indian community. Suddenly there were television. One of those cars with those trucks with the big thing aiming at the
Satellite truck, yeah.
and it became a big event. But I heard from one of the people in the who's engaging in this scientific work, one of the scientists, that there was no actual quality of life that was found. The only thing that they saw was that nothing. Hello.
Hello.
Come in. Come. There was no quality there was no quality of life that could be identified. The only thing that they could measure was the fact that the body was not deteriorating. And the body did not deteriorate for 3 weeks. That was the only thing that they could actually measure. And then after 3 weeks, poof, from one moment to the next, it deteriorated. And that's the point that we would say consciousness went on, left. This, consciousness. So we talk about impermanence. Things exist. the watch that I put here at the beginning of class and the watch that I have before me now, the watch that I have before me now is the result of a series of moments of existence of watch that leads to the watch that is here right now. So if I point at, oh, that's the watch, the initial watch that I intend to point at is no longer the watch that I point at, and each moment of watch is the cause of the next moment of watch and is the result of the prior. And that's the same, that is true for myself, that is true for the moments of consciousness. And so you have each moment of consciousness causing the next moment of consciousness, and this process goes on and on. And that stream of consciousness, the consciousness needing a prior moment of consciousness to for it to exist, becomes the way in which we would say there cannot be a first moment of consciousness, because that first moment of consciousness couldn't arise from something that was not conscious. An effect has to have the has to be of a similar quality or nature as the cause, and the only thing that can bring about that quality of consciousness is something that has a similar nature, which would be a prior moment of consciousness. And so the whole idea that we have no beginning, that our consciousness, that we are beginningless, that is explained by the fact that in order for us to begin, there would have to be a cause that would simply be a prior moment of our existence. Maybe we should stop here. Okay. Does anyone have, do you want to share, or do you want to?
Just the top of your line.
Oh, praying for, now we say a prayer for people who died. So if you know anyone passed away recently, you could just think of them and dedicate this prayer to that person.
Okay, so we are, the Sutra of the Recollection of the Noble Three Truths. So here we are recollecting the qualities of the Buddha, of the his doctrine, and of the spiritual community. I prostrate to the Omniscient One,
That's the Buddha,
Bhagavad, Tathagata, Arhat, Samyak Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavad. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of Bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of Nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of desire. He is not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent, its words are excellent, it is uncorrupted, it is completely perfect and completely pure, it completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well, it brings complete vision, it is free from sickness, it is always timely, it directs one further, seeing it fulfills one's purpose, it brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma which is taught by the Bhagavad is revealed properly in the midnight. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Jnana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable, the Dharma's virtues are inconceivable, the Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore their fruitions are inconceivable, may they be born in a completely pure realm. The 8 virtues of process for the mind. With the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings, who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn of myself as the lowest amongst all, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions I will learn to search into my mind, and as soon as a disturbing emotion arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings, and those oppressed by strong misdeeds and sufferings, as if I had found a precious treasure difficult to find. When others out of jealousy treat me badly, with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take all loss and offer the victory to them. And the one whom I benefited with great hope, unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all health and happiness directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering of my mothers. I will learn to keep all these practices undefiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, and by understanding all phenomena as like illusions, be released from the bondage of attachment. And the last one over here, breath is with me. You got it. Exalted wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop, sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes. Guru Ram Tuguam Doje Cham. Please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast waves of aspirational prayers, Lord of speech of the Victor Losang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening, yet you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you till cyclic existence's end, to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings. We beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by bodhicitta drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings and wish-fulfilling jewel. Return as the glory of Losang Tenpei, magnificent truth of the 3 precious jewels, Mahakala, Karmayama, and Sri Mata Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors. May you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh moonlight face. So,
Thank you.
today is Wednesday.
Today is
So next Monday there will be class in New York City, and then next Wednesday here again. This Saturday we don't have a Tara Puja.
You have a day off. So you know Buddhists believe in reincarnation. You just got all of that at once. No, not lying. Wait a minute.